the agenda is presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, the next item is the discussion and investigation of the mayor and city manager. Mr. King, Ms. Gordon, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here tonight. Are we televised?
No.
Okay.
Special meeting's not televised.
Okay, awesome. Thank everyone for coming tonight. I just wanted to, first of all, say this one thing. And John, you know, I've never told you what to write or never said, told the press what to write. But I just want to make this one thing clear. I want to be very specific on this thing. I want to make clear that everyone realizes this and knows this. This is not, nor has it ever been, intended to be a witch hunt. This is not what this is about. And I want to make that very, 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 very clear. Has not intended to be a witch hunt. We are not here to judge the politics or the policies of the mayor. We're not here to judge the policies and politics of anyone else. This is about principle. And our charter says that the stability and proper operation of a democratic representative government depend upon public confidence in the integrity of the government and upon the responsible exercise of the trust conferred by the people upon their elected officials. That's clearly what our Code of Ethics states in ordinance number 10-12-1. We realize that we have some serious challenges in our city. And one of those challenges involves education. And I don't know anyone who doesn't care about the children. I don't know anyone who does not care about the education of the students here in Elizabeth City and Pasquotank County, because eventually it's going to all affect all of us one day or another. You see that, the intentions were good. The mayor had intentions were good. We're not judging that. The only thing that really came into question was how it was done. Actually, how it was done. And regardless of how it was done, we're willing to move forward, because we just cannot see spending upwards of thousands of dollars on an investigation when we already know all the facts. I couldn't sleep, couldn't live with myself, couldn't live with my judgment in going forward when we already know everything. Whether or not people want to say, oh, I didn't do anything, or I don't care. At this point, it's not even about that. There's too many other challenges that the city is facing, and this is only a distraction. To spend this much, and I know everybody doesn't agree with me, but, I have 22 more months to go, and I'm going to serve my term, and I'm going to do what I have to do. I don't think it's responsible to spend thousands of dollars on an investigation when we already know all the facts. I don't care what they admit or what they don't admit at this point. We have too many citizens that cannot afford to pay their light bill, that cannot afford basic day-to-day necessities. And we're going to spend this much money on an investigation. And furthermore, I also want to say that the NAACP and its president, Mr. Keith Rivers, cares as much about the children of this city as the mayor does. And all the NAACP asks for is fairness and equality, and they had a right to do that. They had a right to do that. Just like anybody else has a right to do that. There's one common challenge here, and that's the education. Everybody may disagree on how to go forward and improving the quality of education here in Elizabeth City. But that's not what this is about. That is not what this is about. People are saying, well, you guys are attacking the mayor and the manager for wanting to improve the school system. No, it's not that. It's not that at all. Everyone should want to improve the quality of education here in this city, in this county. But truth be told, the council doesn't have anything to do with education, educating the students. We are not legally responsible for the education of students here in Elizabeth City and Powhatan County. We can do other things to influence or to improve, but legally we're not responsible for educating these children as a city. This is not Charlotte Mecklenburg. This is not another consolidated government. We are not responsible, so therefore, I'm willing to move forward and at the same time distance myself from the mayor's endeavors as far as charter school, any future endeavors. Because a lot of people are confused as they see the mayor in his position, capacity as a mayor, and they think the council is approved of it. I'm not here to say whether or not charter schools is bad. I'm not here whether or not to say charter schools is good. We are here today because the concern was the way in which it was done. Could things have been done a lot better? In my opinion, yes. Is it worth spending thousands of dollars over? No. It's not. Everybody has their own opinions on this matter. But there's two key things that I feel like are central. Everybody cares about the children. Educational system needs to be improved. And number two, that we need to move forward. And that's why we're here, because we have to move forward. I cannot see us going into a retreat to try to work together when we have this investigation. How can we do that? I've told people on day one that regardless of not whether where you stand at, regardless of not where he stands at, I'm willing to work with everybody to move the city forward. I don't care. I can use Ms. Baker because she's cool. I don't care what Ms. Baker's politics are. We all have a common interest, and that common interest is to serve the citizens of Elizabeth City and to move this city forward. So that's all I have to say, and I'm ready to move forward.
Mr. Gordon, you have anything to?
Yes, I said I would let Councilman King go first. He has a melodious way of putting words together. So I thank him for that. And now I can just be pretty much plain and simple. I have some major concerns that made me want to be part of calling this meeting tonight. I've always been taught that you should never let any of your good be evilly spoken of. It's not what you do, but it's how you go about doing it. And in the past recent weeks, as we've been discussing the investigation, I've felt some trouble in my mind and my heart because I feel that the facts are already on the table. If the truth be told, many persons need to go back to our charter, our purpose of existence as a city council. We are the ones that have the power. We are the ones that have the vote. Daily Advance did already, in my opinion, has contributed on February the 9th. John Hawley wrote an article that was commented on by our city manager when it's roughly $555, according to the newspaper, was used to, in preparation of submitting a grant to the Golden Leaf Foundation, asking for $900,000 for an ADA-based charter school and $600,000 for a new generator for the College of the Alamo. The facts are already here. The city grant writer was used. City electrician was used. They do not work per se for the mayor. They do not work per se, even though the city manager, quote unquote, is their boss, they work for the city. The city was not requesting funds. Mayor Joe Peel and his consortium were requesting funds for their charter school. That had nothing to do with the city of Elizabeth City. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we do not need to spend $4, $5, $6, or even in my opinion, $1,000 to have an investigation when we already know the facts. I've got the memo from Mr. Olson talking about, you know, his reputation, and I understand because, you know, I'm taught from the belief that a good name is better than having great riches. But at the same time, this is not worth us as a council spending, once again, numerous amount of dollars to continue when we are the jury, we are the ones that's making the decisions. So what we need to do is go ahead and we have the evidence. We have Mr. Olson here, we have the mayor here, hear what they have to say, and then we need to move forward. And once again, I will say, I know this is not televised, but it's not about slapping nobody's on the wrist and saying, well, you know, next time don't do. No. I'm prepared to take action to move this city in a better manner. Whether that action is requesting the mayor to pay back the money, whether it's firing the city manager, whatever it may be. That's something that's up to the council. But it's time that we don't need to just keep beating the dog. We need to go ahead. The NAACP, they did nothing wrong. They were a concerned organization that came forward. They presented us facts. So we don't need to try to just keep going on and on and on. We've got homeless people, as Councilman King already referred to, people that can't pay their light bills. And here we are acting like we've got money just to be spending on something that at the end of the day is coming back to us anyway. In my opinion, we might as well open that back window out and just throw $5,000 out and let any and everybody come get it, because there's no purpose behind it. Even afterwards, when the lawyer or whoever comes forward and they present their findings, who is it up to have to say what the consequences are? It's up to us. So we've got the facts. It doesn't make sense to spend $5,000, and that's why I'm totally against, not necessarily against making a resolution or taking action based on the mayor and the city manager's action, but I am against continuing the investigation. And with that being said, I make a motion that we suspend the said investigation on the city manager and the mayor.
Second.
We have a motion second. We have other discussion? Thomas?
I'd like to know what facts we have in evidence.
I couldn't hear you.
I would like to know what all these facts are, because one of the problems is that until you look into the authority of the manager, what he's allowed to do, what he's done in the past, how he and the county manager work together and sharing resources for the good of everybody in the community, you can't sit in judgment of what the actual action was. I firmly believe that he was within his authority as a city manager to direct the grant writer to help the county. Remember, it was a county grant. It was a county grant. It wasn't the mayor's grant. It wasn't our grant. It was the county's grant. We, the city, provided assistance to the county to help them prepare a grant which was going to help all the citizens of this county, including the citizens of Elizabeth City. I don't find that to be something that's necessarily a bad thing to do. So when you say you have all the facts you need to judge the case, I disagree. And the other thing that I heard said was, regardless of what they admit or don't admit, that infers that you think that the parties are guilty. You don't want to hear any more facts. You want to rush to judgment. I supported this investigation from the get-go. I've been supported every investigation that's been brought before this council, for the simple reason that in my career, I've run into situations where people chose to hide things until it was too late. It got into the press. And the right answer is you investigate it, find out the facts, and then make a judgment. I stick with that. I firmly believe we should continue this investigation. If you don't want to spend money, you had that option, and that option was to allow the city attorney to conduct the investigation. It didn't have to cost us additional money. I didn't drive that truck down this road. Other people drove that truck down this road, including the NAACP. That's on the record in public statements. And if you don't trust your city attorney, then you need to think again about how you're going to run this place. So I can't vote to suspend this investigation. It's not the right thing to do. The thing to do is continue, have somebody, if you don't want to spend the money, direct Mr. Morgan. It appeared you didn't trust Mr. Morgan, you needed a third party. If that's your case, then you're going to have to spend money. But we don't have all the facts in front of us to make a judgment. And what I hear is that you want to suspend the investigation, then I don't know what's coming next. And you say, well, now we have to have a censure meeting without having an investigation. Well, unfortunately, you can't have that. If you don't investigate, then you can take no further action. You can't ask the mayor to pay anything back. I don't think he owes anything. And you can't chastise the city manager. Because you don't have the facts on what actually happened. So, and I'm very sensitive to Mr. Olson's position. He's been land-based in this town since I got here. He's been hung out to dry by so many people that wanted his scalp and wanted him fired. People on previous councils, people on this council. They've been after him for a long time. Rich is not the most people-friendly person in the room, he knows that. But he's done a lot for this city, he got a lot done. And I don't think his integrity has ever been in question in my mind. So, I would believe that I will not support suspending this investigation. I just won't, unless there's a serious apology by the several people, including the NAACP, for bringing this up in the first place without having concrete evidence. Because there isn't really any concrete evidence of any wrongdoing, even by our statutes. I didn't believe that when I voted for it, but I voted for the investigation to prove that point. And I think that is the point. There is nothing wrong.
I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Steinmetz. And further, I think if we, and I agree we should go forward with the investigation with a couple of variations. I think if we end up paying for this investigation, that it would be money well spent, because I think some of our counselors, especially our two new counselors, gentlemen, it'll be money well spent to learn a lesson that maybe jumping on board somebody else's cause is not the right way to do without doing your own due diligence and speaking from your own heart, which you may have, but it doesn't appear that way to now want to back out of it. One of our goals, as I remember now, I'm not sure if it was a previous goal-setting session we had or one before, was to improve our schools, help improve our schools. Nothing would do that better than to educate our children in the industries and the businesses that we have here, that we can get them jobs, we can get them good paying jobs. I further think, and I remember the NAACP coming up and demanding this investigation, which is what drove the motion and the second. And I, like Councilman Steinmetz, supported it because the mayor and Rich did not want to go out and have their names damned. And I wanted to see their names cleared as well, because I don't think there's been any conflict of interest, which I believe was the charge. Conflict of interest, in my opinion, and what I've read online and anywhere else, somebody has to personally and most often financially benefit for something that they have done wrong. I don't think there has been any wrongdoing here. Further, if we go forward with this investigation, which I hope we will, I believe, and I would like to amend the motion to state that the person who brought the charge, or the organization who brought the charge, paid for the investigation, meaning the NAACP. I mentioned that a couple of meetings ago, It didn't go anywhere, didn't get in the paper. But I believe whoever brings the charge, I mean, if it's a council person on a council person or a council person against somebody on this dais, then that's one thing for the city to pay. But a private individual or a private organization, if they want an investigation, let them. Thank you.
Scholar?
I'm a little confused. In part, I don't understand yet why the change in attitude. We all voted in favor. It was a unanimous vote to conduct the investigation. I voted in favor of it because both the mayor and the city manager agreed that they had no problem with an investigation. Then we decided that our attorney was unable to conduct the investigation appropriately, and I believe there was almost unanimous vote to pursue that. I know I voted against that. I figured if we didn't have confidence in our attorney, then we should do something, we gotta get our heads together. After that, we said, well, go out and identify new people. Just the other day, identify new people, come forward with it, Mr. Attorney, and we put a limitation of $4,500 on it. I voted against that as well. I'm asking what created the change in just a few days. Everybody was vehement about going forward with the investigation. I don't understand what changed, and I need to know that. We assassinated two characters here on the dais, and that upsets me immensely. We need to do something about that. What we do about it, I'm open to. But we do not throw people's names around inappropriately with whatever kind of attitude we may have had and expect everything to go away. I would suggest one alternative that we could pursue is passing a resolution by the council to vindicate both parties in the entire situation. If we can't do that, then I think based on the feelings of the mayor and the manager, we have to go forward with the investigation. I don't think we should be spending $4,500 on something like this, up to $4,500, maybe more. I think that money could be better utilized in the community. But everybody rushed forward and wanted to do something for whatever reasons were in your heart. We pray before the meetings, and I want to believe that we come forward with open hearts. But I'm not sure that's true. So I don't know what happened to create the change, and I would like to know. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Summer?
Yes, Mr. Donnelly has made a very good point here. We could spend $5,000 and it all comes right back to us as to what to do. So, there are so many ways that this has been looked at, and I've tried to analyze all of them. It's evident to me that the manager acted on a request by the mayor. It's also evident that the mayor should have acted on advice from the full council. However, the mayor in a public meeting apologized to the public and to the city council. The manager did write a memo on November 15th explaining the whole thing. None of us seemed to have a problem that evening, and we didn't raise any questions. So we've gone in so many different directions, it's absolutely embarrassing, and I've stated before, we were very unprofessional. I really don't want to spend $5,000 either, and like I said, it will all come back to this board to make a decision. And when we voted for that, unanimously voted for this investigation, I had many calls, and most of them, there was one question: what do you hope to achieve? What are you going to prove? And what is the remedy for it? So we have to ask ourselves again, what is the remedy? And I think a resolution with us would, I think Mr. Donnelly has a very good point here, and I think that since it all comes back to us, and either we rescind it tonight and move on with no further explanation, or we have a resolution and support the mayor and manager and tell them how we expect things to be carried out in the future, that it should be done by this body as a whole. Or, in the beginning, I thought, well, the NAACP wanted an investigation. They are a national organization. They could have well afforded the attorneys. They have attorneys on staff. We have to look at how we respond to things and how much it's going to cost. So, I still don't want to spend taxpayers' money for this, and I can assure you, a lot of people have asked me to look at it that way. So, that's a difficult decision here tonight.
Mr. Brooks?
This is good. I'm not confused at all. I know someone has been talking behind someone's back. You can't make me understand that, and first of all, I don't think we can hold the NAACP accountable for paying back something. This council decided to do the investigation. The NAACP didn't have anything to do with it. All they did was ask. That's all they did. We voted unanimously. This council. If we didn't vote to do it, it would have been dead on arrival. So trying to get them to pay back something that was our fault is ridiculous. I like to talk about the history of investigations, because some haven't been on council that long and don't know the history of the investigations. When I first got on council, there was an investigation called on council. Our rule says the only one that can call an investigation on council is council. But yet an investigation was called and carried out. No one talked about money or how much it was to cost. It went through. They investigated us. On this council, a motion was made and seconded that they investigate me for trying to help an employee. No one on this council talked about the monies that was involved. So we got to look at the history of the whole thing. And I don't want to go through the history of investigations, but if you don't know all the information, do your homework and go all the way back and look and read the minutes and look what the investigation says, what happened on this council. The thing that's going on with the investigation now is nothing unique. It's nothing unique. But I like to continue to say this. I understand the position that the city manager and Mr. Peel in. I've been investigated for quoting the scripture. No one talked about monies. No one talked about monies. All of a sudden, the hit break thing is monies. It doesn't make any sense. We're trying to be fair across the board. What I do like is that the mayor and the city manager welcomed the investigation. We as a council unanimously welcomed the investigation. And I believe, just like my character has been cleared, they got one more officer to cross, and my character will have been cleared. I believe that the mayor and the city manager have a right to clear their name. And Councilman Horton quoted it elegantly. A good name is more to be desired than riches. I would not go back on the decision that the council made unanimously. I don't care about what happened back door, and I don't care about the My concern is not about the emotional aspect. It seems to me that we must understand, we do not have all the information. We can't rely, if we rely on the information that the Daily Advance wrote in the paper, then let them do the investigation. The main purpose of an investigation is to collect information.